Hello everyone! You know what? There's one relationship in BTS that always makes ARMYs curious and is often misunderstood. Yes, we're talking about Yoongi and Jimin. On the surface, they look like two opposite poles. Suga, who's cool, calm, and introverted, versus Jimin, who's warm, expressive, and extroverted. But wait, there's something far deeper than what we see on camera. Today, we're going to bust myths, analyze hidden moments, and reveal the real dynamics between these two BTS members. Trust me, after watching this video until the end, you'll see YoonMin with a completely different perspective, so stay tuned. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Let's start from the beginning. When first seeing Yoongi and Jimin interact, many people think they're not that close. Why? Because the way they show affection is very different. Jimin is the type who shows love physically, hugs, touches, sweet words. He's super expressive. Meanwhile, Yoongi, he's more about acts of service and quality time. He shows care through small actions that might not be immediately visible. But here's what's interesting. If you pay close attention, Yoongi has a special soft spot for Jimin. There are many moments where Yoongi, who's usually calm and rarely shows excessive emotions, suddenly melts when faced with Jimin. Examples? Remember when Jimin was sick and Yoongi, who's usually indifferent, immediately got worried and kept checking on his condition? Or how Yoongi always praises Jimin's dancing and dedication even when other members don't say anything. This is not a coincidence, guys. And vice versa, Jimin also has incredible respect for Yoongi. He often says that Yoongi is one of the members he admires most, especially because of his work ethic and honesty. Now, let's talk about their creative chemistry. This is an aspect that's rarely discussed, but it's super important. Yoongi is one of BTS's main producers, while Jimin is one of the most dedicated performers in the group. This combination creates a unique dynamic. There are behind-the-scenes moments where Yoongi gives feedback to Jimin about his vocals. And what's interesting is, Jimin always listens very seriously. Why? Because he knows Yoongi will never give empty praise or criticism. Yoongi is always honest. On the other hand, Yoongi is often inspired by Jimin's dedication. There was an interview where Yoongi said that seeing Jimin practice until late at night makes him also motivated to work harder in the studio. They're both perfectionists, but in different ways. Jimin is a perfectionist in performance. Every movement, every note must be perfect. Yoongi is a perfectionist in production. Every beat, every lyric must be meaningful. And when two perfectionists with different approaches work together, magic happens. Some of BTS's most emotional and powerful tracks were born from collaboration or feedback between these two members. Okay, now we're getting into the controversial part. There are several moments that are often misinterpreted by fans, and this creates a false narrative about their relationship. First, Yoongi doesn't care about Jimin. Dead wrong. Yoongi cares a lot, he just doesn't show it the same way as other members. Remember when Jimin cried on stage because he felt his performance wasn't perfect? While other members hugged him, Yoongi stood somewhat distant. Many said Yoongi was cold, but if you pay attention to his facial expression, he was equally affected. And after that, backstage, Yoongi was the one who talked at length with Jimin, providing the realistic perspective Jimin needed. That's Yoongi's way of showing love, not with drama, but with practical solutions and meaningful words. Second, there are moments when Yoongi refuses aegyo or Jimin's requests on variety shows. Fans often say Yoongi is savage to Jimin, but look closely. After he says no, he always smiles slightly or does something else for Jimin that's more genuine. Yoongi rejects performative affection, but he's always there for real support. And Jimin understands this. That's why he never takes offense. Third, their minimal communication on camera. This is the most often misunderstood, but the fact is, the deepest relationships often don't need many words. They have an understanding that goes beyond words. Now we're getting into moments that truly show the depth of their relationship. There are several vulnerable moments where we can see layers that are usually hidden. When BTS almost disbanded during their difficult times, in the documentary, it was revealed that Yoongi and Jimin had a very deep conversation about dreams, fears, and reasons for persisting. Jimin said that Yoongi's words at that time helped him find a purpose again. When Yoongi had problems with his shoulder and had to take a hiatus, Jimin was one of the most worried members. There's a fan cam showing Jimin constantly checking his phone and then smiling with relief. Most likely he got news from Yoongi. Jimin's journey with self-confidence is another crucial moment. Yoongi was one of the first people to call Jimin by his full name, Park Jimin, with a proud tone. He always reminded Jimin of his value and talent when Jimin doubted himself. And regarding Yoongi's mixtape and emotional releases, Jimin was one of the biggest supporters. He had private listening parties for Yoongi, providing feedback that was honest but supportive. This is not ordinary friendship. This is a relationship where both grow and heal together. They have their own language that not everyone might notice. Eye contact. Notice how they communicate through gazes. One look from Yoongi and Jimin immediately understands. Same goes the other way. Silent support. Yoongi quietly bringing Jimin's favorite drink. Jimin quietly sitting in the studio keeping Yoongi company even though he's sleepy. Honest feedback. They are one of the most honest pairings with each other. No sugarcoating, but always with respect.
Protective instinct. Yoongi, who subtly always makes sure Jimin is okay. Jimin, who defends Yoongi when people misunderstand his personality. Shared silence. They're comfortable in silence, don't always need to talk to enjoy each other's company. These are signs of mature and real intimacy. One of the most beautiful aspects of the YoonMin relationship is how they've grown together over the years. In the early debut days, Jimin was the last trainee to join, and he was very insecure. Yoongi, who was already more experienced, took on the role as one of the grounding forces for Jimin. He provided reality checks that Jimin needed. Fast forward to now, Jimin has become a confident performer with a massive global fan base. And who always says "I told you so" with a proud smile? Yoongi. On the other hand, Yoongi has also undergone transformation. From a fierce rapper who was somewhat closed off, he slowly opened up, especially about mental health struggles and vulnerability. And Jimin was one of the people who created a safe space for that. They learned from each other. Yoongi learned to be more expressive from Jimin. Jimin learned to be more grounded and realistic from Yoongi. Yoongi learned about persistence through Jimin's work ethic. Jimin learned about authenticity from Yoongi's honesty. They balance each other out in a very organic way. Let's address the elephant in the room. There are several misconceptions that need to be clarified. First misconception: they're not that close because they rarely interact on camera. Reality: the closest relationships often don't need validation from cameras. They're comfortable without constantly needing to prove something. Second, Yoongi favors other members, not Jimin. Reality: Yoongi doesn't have favorites in the conventional sense, but he has special appreciation for each member, including Jimin, in different ways. Third, Jimin is closer with other members. Reality: Jimin is close with all members, but the depth varies. His relationship with Yoongi is quieter but incredibly solid. Fourth, they once had a big conflict. Reality: like any relationship, there are definitely disagreements, but they're mature enough to communicate and resolve things. What's important to remember is not all love looks the same. Yoongi and Jimin show that friendship doesn't have to be loud to be meaningful. Now, with BTS going through individual journeys in military service, how does the YoonMin relationship develop? Interestingly, distance often makes the heart grow fonder. They're both mature enough to maintain their relationship even when they're not always together. Yoongi in his solo work shows more vulnerability and emotional depth, something that might be partially influenced by years of friendship with Jimin and other members. Jimin, too, in his solo album and projects, shows more confidence and artistic direction, results from years of being supported and challenged by people like Yoongi. When BTS eventually reunites, we can expect their relationship will be even stronger, because true friendship doesn't fade with distance or time. So, what's the conclusion from all this? Yoongi and Jimin have a complex, layered, and incredibly real relationship. They don't fit into typical narratives about friendship because they create their own narrative. This is a relationship built on mutual respect, honest communication, shared values, and genuine care. It's not about grand gestures, but about consistent presence and deep understanding. The real story behind YoonMin is a story about two different individuals who found connection in shared dreams, struggles, and growth. They prove that opposites don't just attract, they can complement and elevate each other. So, next time you see Yoongi and Jimin interact, look deeper, because the most beautiful things are often hidden in the smallest gestures. Okay guys, that's our deep dive into YoonMin. What do you think? Do you have favorite moments we haven't discussed? Drop them in the comments section. And if you want a deep dive about other BTS pairings, let me know. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with fellow ARMYs. See you in the next video. Borahae!